Mexico is an extraordinary place to learn about photojournalism because it's rich with talent and it's rich with photographic work. I've learned from some wildly talented Mexican photographers, and the whole genre of photojournalism and photography in general in Mexico is this highly regarded, very, very respected craft, not just as a means of communication in terms of news and newspapers and magazines and so forth, but it's artistic in nature, and it's deeply emotional, and there are things happening in Mexico that are just grassroots, fundamentally and intrinsically compelling to me.
The Mexican drug war is a moment of violence, greed, and sadness. The presence of drug cartels and their power has been present in Mexican society, but worsened in 2006 when President Calderón was elected.
Sé que restablecer la seguridad no será fácil ni rápido, que tomará tiempo, que costará mucho dinero e incluso, y por desgracia, vidas humanas.
Since then, there have been thousands of deaths.
There's a tremendous difference between journalists who are print journalists who write stories and who can do their work largely on the phone or being kind of below the radar in the street when they go out to report. There's a difference between that and reporting with a camera, because you have to be at the scene of something to report with a camera and to make those pictures, and you're very, very visible. It's hard not to be seen. So the visual reporters, be they still photographers or videographers, they're moving targets in Mexico. So Mexico has changed, the craft has changed.
Jose de Cordova from the Wall Street Journal and Carlos Lauria of the Committee to Protect Journalists spoke with NPR on the political climate surrounding photographers in Mexico.
The mere fact that you're taking pictures of any crime scene in Mexico has become dangerous in these areas, because you don't know who might not want you to take that photograph.
In March, the murder of journalists was made a federal crime. A month later, Mexico's Congress approved a law providing protection for threatened journalists. But human rights organizations are skeptical whether the new laws will be implemented at the local level. They say state and municipal authorities often cave in to pressure from organized crime groups, leading to impunity. Caught between drug gangs and widespread corruption among police and government officials, many journalists have chosen self-censorship to stay alive.
Censorship in Mexican media and photography has evolved into a new term, narco-censorship. In narco-censorship, for fear of retaliation and attack, various news and press groups avoid publishing information that can place at risk journalists and photographers. Newspapers such as El Diario are tired of this self-censorship. After the murder of one of their staff, El Diario published an editorial calling for international attention.
4 years. I mean, in publishing this letter, what do you expect to get from the cartels? I know you're asking them, what do you want from us? But what do you expect to hear?
Well, we want to have international attention, because when we go to the authorities, we cannot, we don't have received any trustworthy resolutions. We think the cartels are have Mexican authorities in all levels, and so we don't know who to go for when they are killing us, and we don't understand their message when they kill us.
So you have governments trying to stifle this exchange of information, to control this information, and you have people like photographers, journalists, writers, artists, who want to open the channels of information, for example, over the internet.
3 photographers from Veracruz, Mexico, Guillermo Luna, Gabriel Uge, and Esteban Rodriguez, found themselves on the hit list of narco traffickers. They escaped, but upon returning to Veracruz, they were disappeared. Their bodies were later found in a canal in Veracruz. Luna, Uge, and Rodriguez's deaths led to a protest in which several local photographers hung their cameras outside of the home of a Veracruz's state representative. But even through these tragedies, journalists and newspapers, such as El Zeta from Tijuana, Baja California, refused to let fear get in the way of their jobs.
Decidimos a partir del 2006, cuando Jesús Blancornela se retira de la dirección, que todos los reportajes donde se revelaran nombres o sistemas de corrupción entre crimen organizado y gobierno o corporaciones policíacas, los íbamos a firmar como investigaciones Z, para un reportero sin rostro hacia afuera, para proteger la integridad física de quienes trabajamos en esas historias.
With new regulations making crimes against journalists and photographers federal crimes, there lies a deep hope that violence in Mexico will cease. But for many, especially photographers, the situation has only worsened.
I think particularly in Latin America, where there is a love for the craft and for visual communication, for the artistry of photography, for the craft of photography, I think it has a really, really bright future ahead.
It's obvious that the drug war has had an immense impact on photojournalists. Regardless, photojournalism continues to thrive in Mexico.